Chemicals, paints, and materials perform the main roles in bathtubs' refinishing processes. That's why better to educate yourself before making the decision. I'm Bill. Let's discuss what chemicals do the companies use to resurface a bathtub. What purpose do the chemicals fulfill? What options exist for choosing one chemical technique over another? What are the pros and cons of each chemical? Knowledge safety. Usually the chemicals and paints used often emit powerful smells that can harm you and your family. At first, we are going to focus specifically on 3 chemical products. 1. Polyurethane painting. 2. Acrylic polyurethane painting. 3. Epoxy material. So let's start. 1. Polyurethane paint. Polyurethane has a using as a common type of paint for many household tasks. Polyurethane is good for refinishing walls, wooden furniture, or even antique cars, etc. Usually this product comprises a combination of plastic paint resins. Also, polyurethane frequently contains vegetable oil acids, nitrogen-derived parts, mineral spirits, and isocyanates. Let's think what 2 last components really mean. Mineral spirits refer to a petroleum-derived product used to do the task of paint thinner. Also, mineral spirits outperform traditional paint thinners in a number of ways. Paint thinner doesn't get the refinement of mineral spirits. It often gives out a heavy smell. It has a higher volatility than mineral spirits, which makes it a poor choice for combination. Isocyanates come from the ingredients that react with other elements in the polyurethane to produce the polyurethane to not melt when heated and to form a long-lasting coat. These isocyanates make the reactions with the polyol alcohols in the polyurethane mix. The bond of these 2 chemicals produce the complex molecular structure known as polymer. So the isocyanates increase the strength and heat resistance, and mineral spirits reduce the volatility and aid in the amalgamated product stability. The nitrogen elements protect the painted surface from becoming brittle. The final ingredient in the polyurethane comb is the oxygen. It plays a vital role in the chemical process, which produces the polyurethane surface. Unfortunately, the water-based polyurethane products type don't stand up to the task. They occasionally chip and don't maintain the same longevity as oil-based polyurethanes. However, water-based polyurethane does maintain some advantages over its oily relative. Traditional polymer polyurethane remains the champion, compared to its watery polyurethane competitors, for the challenge of bathtub refinishing. 2. Acrylic polyurethane paint. This type belongs in the polymer. Acrylic offers the least expensive option. Acrylic polymers are in everything, from nail polish to fine art painting. Not all but some acrylic paints have ammonia in them. Its chemical smell can harm you. Also, the bad smell of acrylic paint primarily comes from the solvents and additives used in its formulation. These are the main reasons for the odor. Solvents. Some acrylic contains solvents that help dissolve the pigments and binders, which can emit strong odors. Additives. Acrylic often include various additives to enhance surfaces. Some of these additives can produce unpleasant odors. Chemical reactions. The drying process of acrylic involves chemical reactions that can release volatile organic compounds, VOCs, which are often responsible for strong odors. Some acrylic paints that are labeled as low VOC or VOC-free have the lowest emissions and are therefore less harmful to health. Acrylic polyurethane paint is considered to be the most affordable type of polyurethane paint, considered to polyester polyurethane. These paints provide more protection against abrasions, stains, and chemicals than most standard paints, but they do not provide as much protection as their polyester counterparts. Common applications for acrylic polyurethane are on automobiles and water towers, where surfaces have limited friction and chance for abrasion. Acrylic polyurethane can be applied with a paint sprayer, spray can, or paint brush. When applied from a sprayer or spray can, It may take up to 10 days for polyurethane paint to fully harden and dry. Three, epoxy material. A broader term that can refer to the entire class of materials or the cured product. This term generally refers to the class of thermosetting polymers that are created from the reaction of epoxide compounds. It can also refer to the cured product itself. Epoxy materials are valued for their tensile strength and ability to bond firmly to a wide range of substrate materials. The bonding power and physical strength of epoxy differ widely depending on the resin blend and hardener used, as well as the material to which the epoxy is bonded. You may be wondering what the difference is between epoxy paint and epoxy coating. These two terms can get mixed up and, since there's a great difference. Epoxy painting. Any epoxy paint product will consist of basically acrylic latex. Some may contain an amount of epoxy in the paint formula to help it adhere better to the surface. However, it's still just paint and lacks the durability of a true epoxy resin coating. Epoxy paint will crack and peel, particularly if used in a bathtub surface that gets a lot of traffic. Epoxy resin coating. The word epoxy comes from the chemical bond type called epoxide with a double bonded oxygen that opens to make new bonds leading to the polymerization of the epoxy resin. So, you have people loosely calling the finished, cured polymer, epoxy. It is typically a liquid that, when mixed with a hardener, or curing agent, undergoes a chemical reaction to form a solid, durable material. Coating epoxy resin typically has a mix of resin to hardener and has a quicker curing time compared to casting epoxy resin. Coating epoxy resin is used to provide a strong, waterproof, chip-resistant, and rust-proof coating on items. Coating epoxy resin, when applied correctly, will achieve a much higher quality finish. Once cured, epoxy resin coatings are extremely durable and high glossy. In addition, some epoxy resin coating products, low VOC or VOC-free, are tested and proven to emit less or zero harmful chemicals and have no objectionable odor. That is why epoxy resin coating has the great advantage over other options. Summary: that is why epoxy resin coating has the great advantage over other options. It is much better to invest in high-quality materials as they are safer and also better to use.